So I think we've all seen the Double Gulp Cup series, or at least the first video that was ever made about it that instantly went viral and just about anyone's seen it and given their thoughts on it. Well, I don't know about giving their thoughts on it, it's not like it's a big commentary trend, but you know what I'm saying. But we're not talking about that thing today, we're talking about the timeline of the cinematic universe. So buckle up. For simplicity's sake, we're just gonna call them part 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the order in which they were released. Which, if you watch the compilation video that I put in the corner, that's what we'll be referring to them by for just simplicity's sake. So, let's begin. The first video on our timeline is part 3. It may seem a little crazy, but hear me out. You just have to listen to the way that they speak in the video. The person behind the camera seems more shocked than usual. As we see in the first video, it seems like they're speaking as if this has happened before and this is a regular thing, but in the video, the person behind the camera is speaking more in terms of, wait a second, this has never happened before. What is this guy doing? I need to put an end to this.
Oh my god, motherfucker, you used the double gulp cup for the one that's, this one right here. This one is for the fucking Slurpee, you use the one that's for the Coke so you can get more.
As opposed to in the first video, where he just says,
no way, buddy. No fucking way. You cannot use the double gulp cup for the fucking Slurpee. This right here. This is Slurpee cup.
as if he's mad, like this has happened before and he's just sick of it. In the third video, however, even the guy who's doing the Slurpee cup, he even has his problems with it. Like, he says,
I do it all the time. What are you mad about? Are you okay?
He's not used to this clerk screaming at him about using the double gulp cup. So I think this is solid enough evidence for me to prove that this one takes place before the video we all know and love. The second video of our timeline being the original video that went viral. Why isn't it first? Why is it second? Well, we have our evidence for part 3 being the place before part 1. So let's just add on to it even more. A line from part 1.
You use this every time. Every time you make a big deal of that, I always pay for it. What's wrong?
Insinuates that this has happened multiple times before. Now, when has this happened before with the evidence to suggest that it has happened before? Part 3 even foreshadows part 1.
Fucking stop!
It's gonna get my double
Stop that shit!
Oh, if you touch my container one more time. You touch my container one
Use
more
the
time.
fucking light cup!
I'm not.
This hints that he'll do something regrettable if his cup is touched again. If this timeline were accurate, the next time that his cup would be touched would be in part 1. And in part 1, we all know that his retribution is that he kicks the Slurpee across the 7-Eleven. Our next video for the timeline would be part 2. We really only need one evidence to suggest that this happens after the other parts.
You don't lick it.
First you use the
don't lick
big
it.
cup. You use the big cup.
This shows that the unconventional Slurpee container has already happened, and therefore at least one of these double gulps has happened prior. Of course, this is really enough to make it slot 2 at the very least, but more evidence follows through with this hypothesis.
Why do you care? Why does it matter to you? It's weird, it's strange, it's different. I'm just trying to be different. Just trying to live my own lane. Look, I'm gonna pay the same way.
Why the fuck do you do that?
The significance being the tone in his voice when he says it. He sounds beaten down, as if he's suffering through all this berating from the clerk for his container choice, so he decides to do something different that may not result in being treated this way by the clerk, which of course the clerk has a problem with it.
You're gonna fuck me every time you come.
The clerk expresses anger at the fact that the Slurpee man has used the wrong cup so many times, being parts 1 and 3, plus other incidents that likely were not caught on camera. To him, the Slurpee man's just doing random stuff at expense of him. Our last video is part 4. This is already apparent just from the visuals. We can see that the Slurpee guy is sitting in a car with the Slurpee with the talking man behind the camera. The line,
I went to the mall for 1 second to pick up some shoes. You go to Home Depot and you got
If
them
it was
filled.
1 second, I wouldn't have this already. Clearly, you're gone longer than that, fucking liar.
shows that they were in the car together and are planning to be in the car together again. This is characteristic of 2 friends and not 2 enemies that always fight in a 7-Eleven. Chances are that this is in the future, as not only had they established a clear bond by becoming friends, they were not in part 1, at least judging by
You ain't my friend, let's be friends.
more evidence like
Fuck it, I might as well.
shows that the clerk has at least had a change in heart enough to eventually take part in the Slurpee Cup guy shenanigans. Evidence that this is in the future is the line,
You bought a pipe, you bought a Slurpee, you bought a bucket.
This ain't no pipe, this is a crazy straw. I didn't buy a bucket, I bought a Slurpee cup. This is the brand new Slurpee cup.
Okay, on the way home, you go over a bump, and this shit fucking falls all over the car.
I told you this is that new design. 7-Eleven just made this. It's spill proof. You doesn't matter what you can do, nothing's gonna fall out of it.
7-Eleven has not released a bucket that doesn't spill, nor is there one now. So the only way to look for a reality where this is possible is the future. So, how do you think this timeline holds up? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments. But remember that this is just a theory. A double gulp cup for the fucking Slurpee theory.